It's been a season of ups and downs, but what do Suns fans actually have to be thankful for right now? I'm here with my friend Cam Cox. It is another edition of PHNX Suns Solar Panel. And Cam, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, Espo. Happy Thanksgiving, buddy. A lot to be thankful for this time of the year.
Definitely, personally, professionally. But when it comes to the Phoenix Suns, do you think there's actually something to be truly thankful for when it becomes, when it comes to Phoenix Suns fans?
Espo, I got a better question for you. You think Suns fans would be willing to admit it? They know it. We all know what they need to be thankful for. And that the fact that this team is no longer what it was, I don't know, it's going on 4 years now. Like, geez, this team has been a contender year in and year out, and they're going to be for many years to come. Matt Ishbia is not going to let them fall off the cliff when you got guys like Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal. None of those guys are going to let this team fall off the cliff as long as they're around. Now, sure, we can debate wins and where they finish and how it happens, but I think you got to be thankful that this team is no longer that doormat that we saw in the 2010s, because those were not fun years to cheer for this team. People tuned in and out, and they stayed out for a long time. I enjoy all the conversations and the nitpicking. I am thankful for Suns fans that are able to nitpick when they beat a team by 30, but they want to talk about this guy and that guy and this guy. So I'm just thankful that this team is relevant once again. They've been relevant. They're going to contend every year. That's to me the top of the list. As we could keep going, but to me the top of the list is that this team is going to contend for a championship, and they have some of the best players on the planet that we get to watch night in and night out play basketball here at the Valley. It just doesn't get any much better than that from a basketball fan.
I think you're 100% right, though. I think perspective is lost. And maybe that's because some of these fans weren't around for that decade prior to
Maybe.
this. And I think sometimes I take that for granted because there is new generations all the time and new people finding this team, whether it's people that have followed Kevin Durant throughout his career and are just showing up, whether it's younger, people just kind of getting in the fold now. But the decade prior to that finals run was a living hell for basketball fans in this town. After being the fourth best winning percentage all time in the NBA, there was a decade of no playoffs, just total bad basketball, wandering the desert, pun intended, trying to find anybody that could be the basketball savior for Phoenix. I mean, and then that's not to mention ownership as well and the myriad of things that were wrong with that. I think it's interesting that you say could are Suns fans willing to admit it. I think there's a section of Suns fans that are willing to admit that they're
We're
extremely
talking to
lucky.
you Suns fans on Twitter. That's who we're talking to,
But
right?
but I think Yusuf Nurkic on Tuesday night put it exactly the way it needs to be put.
Yeah.
The internet isn't real life. And I think sometimes we get caught in an echo chamber where fans on the internet, and I think it's a little weird. I'm going old man yells at clouds because I'm primarily on the internet. But it's funny to me that I think perspective is lost because, yeah, you're watching three of the best, being
Period.
generous, 60 players in the game. Probably more like 40 top three of the top 40 players in the game right now, all calling Phoenix home and being in the discussion perpetually the last 4 years about championship contending. I mean, that's unheard of since Barkley or since Nash and Amari in the 7 seconds or less, and prior to that, it was the Barkley era.
Yeah, and this team, I will say, I feel like they're a little more talented than those teams with Nash and Amari. It's just so hard to argue with who they had. Now they got to put it together, and I think that's probably the most frustrating part is you see the talent and what it can be, what it should be, but it just goes to show you how hard winning is in any sports, and that having these all-star teams doesn't just kind of guarantee you a championship. That's what kind of makes sports fun in a way. I just hope Suns fans kind of keep the big perspective on everything about what's happening, what they're doing, what they can do when they're healthy. Man, that Laker game the other night, Espo, was just such a good reminder for anyone who was worried about what it's like to be out some of your top players when you're missing what 2/3 of your starting lineup and all that. I mean, It's early basketball. It's early basketball. Now, the problem is we've been saying that for a long time, and they haven't caught up late when it really mattered these past few years. But it's early basketball. But it just goes to show you when all the pieces are rolling for this team, they can contend with the best of them every night, and they should be up there in the top with that conversation when this team can roll.
Cam, I think it's interesting that you bring up kind of, all right, they're in the conversation, and yeah, we've heard the be patient, but can you actually do you think as a fan you can be thankful for a group if they don't win a title? Because this is the thing I struggle with. I like to joke I'm a bit of a fanalist, right? Because I wear both hats. And as a fan, I look at it and I go, yeah, it's been 57 years without a title. I've been, rooting for this team 35 of those years. And at what point does it just become too difficult to separate that pain, that anxiety from just enjoying the ride? And I kind of wonder if that's where we are with certain Suns fans, that it's like, okay, I've seen the script. It's fun to win in the regular season, but if you don't get those 16 in April, May, and June, what difference does it make?
I think the point that stops with that, because I thought about that a lot, Espo, and you wonder where the line is for certain fans, like when enough is enough. You know what I mean? When a team just asks you to give, and there's kind of no return in your investment whatsoever. No Cardinal fans kind of felt that way earlier in the year, right? With the rise in prices and not a lot of winning, and now things have kind of changed a little bit, and so fans are starting to come back. The Suns, when a team stops investing in the people around them and the team to make it better, and the organization and the fan experience, I think that to me is the line which impressed me so much of the Suns since they kind of went on that finals run. It's all been about putting it back in the organization, especially once Matt Ishbia took over. So as long as your team is trying, listen, we can debate the moves, and we are going to debate the moves over the years. That's the fun part, right? Should they have traded for that guy? Should they have traded for that guy? Yes, they should have traded away DA. Sorry about you folks. Like, it just is what it is. We can debate that stuff all day long. But as long as the team is, and Matt Ishbia talks about it all the time, investing to win a title, I think fans should do the same, because that shows your team is doing all that they can. Now, listen, sometimes the moves are right, sometimes the moves are wrong. But to me, as long as the team is doing that and making an effort to win a championship, that's all you can ask for from a standpoint. And to me, the past few years, I think some of those moments that you will remember for like life have happened with this organization. Good, some bad. But I mean, those connections that just grow communities together, that grow fan bases together through struggle, through heartache, through great times, through super highs. Like, a lot of those has happened in the past 4 years, I would say, which is why I think the community is so hyped up these days. All kinds of emotions, because we've had so many different feelings. And I say we because it's like our community, our valley. We've had so many different feelings over these last 4 years. And a lot of it, sports-wise, has revolved around this basketball team, and it's been cool to watch. So I hope fans understand that the Suns, they're not just rolling over for people, and that's the biggest thing to see is like, hey, we got a winner here that can win. Now they just have to go win.
Well, and yeah, a willingness to spend. I mean, there was a joke the old owner squeaked when he walked because he was so cheap about things, and now it's we'll spend anything it takes. Well, yeah, you want to spend $400 million on a roster, we'll do that because that's what we're committed to and trying to make this a winner. And your point, yeah, you're going to debate whether the moves were right, but the intention behind it, I don't think you can debate in any way. And that's the difficult part because if it's your prerogative to argue that they shouldn't have traded DA because you're a Tumani Kamara truther, that's fine. That's your prerogative. But that's just the way these things work. And I don't think you're going to debate, that they're at least attempting to move you closer to a championship. Before we wrap it up, Cam, a couple more things for you. Yusuf Nurkic, we mentioned the DeAndre Ayton trade. Obviously, an up and down season for him. Jokingly mentioned him talking about how the internet isn't real life. He's taken a lot of grief so far this season. You can tell it's whether he wants to joke about it or not. It appears to have weighed on him. But are you a believer in that he can be part of a center rotation that can win a championship?
Espo, I am, and maybe that's the optimist in me. I guess I don't know. It's to me when you have Book, Bradley Beal, and KD, like that's where it starts for me. And those guys are doing their thing and are scoring and are getting the basketball and getting their teammates involved. Like everybody eats, and we've seen games like that. All right. The problem is with the same two problems with Nurk always happen, and it's he misses way too many layups at times. And I just don't think his presence under the basket is always what we were hoping it would be. It's not going to be this physical presence every night. Now, he'll get a lot of rebounds at times, but then sometimes you wonder, like, what is going on down there? And then there's been some games here recently with guys in and out of the lineup that it's just been really hard to watch under the basket. He knows that. Like, if we could see that on the tape, and it's not like you and I are going back and watch it every second, you know what I mean? But if we could see that, I know he could see that. And it's not just trolls. It's like there is some real basketball analysis there that he has not played well this season. And there was an argument at times to start Mason Plumlee. Like you could have made that choice at few times this year just to go to that, just to change that up. He has to play better. But I think when you have the big three like that, and they have a good enough supporting cast, you can't convince me that the guys that they have cannot win an NBA title. That's including Nurk at the center position. I don't think they could trade him. I don't think they're going to trade him. I think they're stuck with him. And that's not like in a bad way stuck with him. That's just their center. And Mason Plumlee is going to be backing up him. Now, if they flip-flop, we'll see how that works out. But those are their guys that they're going to roll with, in my eyes, for the rest of the year. He has not played well. And I just hope that, like, I don't know if the question is, hey, do you just need to play better? Maybe that's the question to him instead of asking him about, what people are saying on social media. Because I think if he honestly looked in the mirror, there would be a conversation with him about why he hasn't played well and why he hasn't done certain things in certain situations.
I think it's simple. I think he tries to do too much when he plays, within his game and just, doesn't overthink it. I think that's when you get a third quarter like he had against the Lakers, where he can take advantage of a mismatch. He can clean up on the boards, and he does enough where it's not a net negative, and that's what you need from a center position. I don't think
especially when you have those other guys, right, Espo? You have the other guys like just handle the layup. Handle the layup. You don't need to do anything else more. You don't need to go here and here. Clean it up. Do what you do best, and maybe that is the right word. I like that. Simplify.
Yeah, just set the picks and roll. Make the layups when you get it. Grab the board when it's yours, and that'll be enough. I think they will add another big into that rotation because they probably need another one, especially with Mason Plumlee's previous injury history and the fact that I love Oso Ighodaro, but I don't know that that's a guy you want to be turning to as your change of pace guy in the playoffs at center. So I think they add a third to that rotation at some point. But the reality is, Yusuf Nurkic is going to be part of this team because you're not dealing him and you're not trading for a better center that's going to usurp him at this point.
That's the one thing I love with Suns fans. It's like, let me get out the trade machine. And who can we get? Guys, that ain't real life. That's not how NBA trades work. So let's just – it's fun to talk about, but I don't think there's a lot of reality in trading Yusuf Nurkic. But they know he has to play better. The same way Book knew he had to play better after his start.
The people that bust out the trade machine like that are also the ones that open dating apps and think that swiping that they like somebody just ensures that it's a done deal already. So, look, it worked in the app. I don't understand it. Why aren't we married? Because it takes two to tango. Before we get out of here, Cam, I got to get you to settle the debate for me. It's a raging debate that we've had around here. I've had with friends. Green bean casserole, trash or extreme trash?
Are we gonna argue about food on Thanksgiving? We're here talking about being thankful. All food is good on Thanksgiving. Well, hold on, let me think about that for a second. All food, most food. I'm going through the list here. Back to your question though, as I'm cycling through what I've had on Thanksgiving over the years. What's wrong with green bean casserole? Now I like green beans regular. I'm a big green bean fan. You know what I mean? I don't mind the casserole type of thing. I don't mind mashed potatoes like that. I don't mind sweet potatoes like that. Like, I like the casserole type of thing. Sometimes it's a little too extra, but I don't think I've ever turned down something with green beans in it. So I'm good with that. The only thing, Espo, in my eyes, and I don't even know if they're invited at Thanksgiving, Brussels sprouts. That's my thing. I don't like Brussels sprouts. Don't care how you cook them. Don't care where you get them from or what. No Brussels sprouts for me, but I'm cool with green bean casserole.
See, I'm cool with casseroles. Casseroles can help make the world go around, just if they don't involve green beans. For me,
Okay.
I'm an anti-green bean guy. Always have been, always will be. If I want a green pod with little beans in it, I'm gonna get some out of Mame. I don't want green beans. Keep that crap away from me. That's where
It's
my
the same
stance
thing.
is.
Just cook. It just cooked a little differently. It's literally
Taste
almost the
different.
same thing.
Taste
It's not.
different.
It
Green
don't taste
beans.
that different. There's
Yeah,
no way
well,
it tastes that different, Espo.